And now, on with the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the People I Tolerate podcast. I'm Eve,
I'm Ben.
And I'm Haley.
and
Welcome.
today, welcome. Hi, how are
Hey.
ya? Today we're gonna talk about some serious items. So if you're not in a good headspace, maybe come back to this episode.
Serious. Wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, if you've been personally victimized by a narcissist.
Shoo.
Um,
Let me get my
Need you say more.
Right. But don't worry, before we get into that, I think we're just going to kind of talk about some updates and some light things and see how each other's weeks have gone. And yeah, so I think I want to start with the segment we did last episode. I think that was our first time doing it, right?
I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we should talk about what has overstimulated you this week.
Mm,
Who wants to start?
I'll
Me?
start.
Okay, but Haley, go.
So, as you all know, we talked about this last week. Eve and I went to the Indy 500 together this weekend. When I tell you the amount of people there was insane. What did we say? 350,000 people go, Eve?
Yes, 350,000.
Wild.
350,000 people. And so,
One in every 1,100 people in the United States of America were there.
that's wild. That's like a crazy stat.
I'm part of the 10,099 people that did not.
That did go. Yeah. No, so first of all, it was uncharacteristically freezing cold.
It was.
Oh, y'all could have signed me up for that. Mhm.
No, yeah, Ben, you would have been in heaven, actually.
Ben, I wasn't cold.
I had on a tank top and jeans, and when I tell you I was frigid, I had goosebumps the entire time. My nipples were hard.
Oh,
But it was just like
That's an
I
accessory, though.
it can be for sure. I had to spend the $70 on a sweatshirt. Like I had to.
that's like
And
going to something important like a concert and like spending.
it is. It was
Okay, but
worth
the
it.
sweatshirt's actually really cute.
It's cute, and I've worn it like every day since I bought it, so fair.
Period.
But I walked to the gift shop alone because everyone else had to pee or wanted to go do whatever, and and so trying to find everyone afterwards was very overstimulating. And also in the gift shop was very overstimulating because they just kept letting people swarm in, and there was lines to get in, and they were out of sizes of everything, and I was trying to decide what would look good on me, and that was overstimulating.
Okay, well, since we're already talking about Indy 500, I wanted you to give me your recap of the event.
Oh my God.
Like, just give me your quick elevator pitch about it.
I will say it made me feel very patriotic in a weird way. Like same way the lake kind of does, you know? It was
Yes.
very American, but it was like so fun. I had a blast. I
Yay.
I loved that you could like I don't it's literally kind of like tailgating in like bleachers while you're like watching cars go by is how I would describe it.
I would agree.
Like you're just kind of vibing.
The video, and y'all know who I am. Well, Haley and Eve, maybe not the rest of y'all, but the video that I've seen about the Black Hawk
Blackhawks.
helicopters.
Oh my God, Ben. It was the coolest thing I've
Holy
ever seen.
shit.
They were so close. Like I felt like I could reach out and touch them.
Oh my God.
What we're talking about is, so the whole reason we go is because our friend's uncle organizes the flyover. So like the planes and the paratroopers, like he organizes the whole thing. And so he told us the day before, he was like, keep your eyes open because there is a surprise this year. They're doing something, we're doing something that we've never done before. And
Mhm.
so we obviously they do all the normal stuff and sing the Indiana song and whatever. And then all of a sudden we see these two Black Hawk helicopters flying directly above all the cars in
Yeah.
formation. and they're pretty close to the stands. So that's what we're talking about. It was really cool.
It was so cool.
Yeah.
Just look
Well,
up
good.
Indy
I'm glad you had
500 on
fun.
TikTok, and you'll see what they're talking about.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
it is invigorating. Is that the right word? Invigorating.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. No, but I'm glad you had a good time. I had a good time. This year was fun for sure.
This year was good.
Eve, give
So,
us your elevator pitch before you get into your overstimulation.
my elevator pitch is I wish it was a little sunnier, although I
Mm-hmm.
did burn my part on my head, which was
Ugh.
Honey,
annoying.
that's why I can't go out of the house.
Yes. Um, and also for some reason this year, I don't know if it's because I drink more. Hold on, excuse me. Excuse me. I don't know if it's because I drink more or less, but I got really sleepy
Yeah, you did get sleepy.
and like so sleepy that I could not keep my eyes open and was like falling asleep, which was really annoying because obviously like I
Or you're
wanted
just
to
getting
like
older, Eve.
I know it could be that
Ugh.
too, but I don't know what it was. So that was really annoying this year, but overall I had a really good time. It was so
Yeah.
fun. I'm so glad that Haley got to experience it and Jeff got to experience it.
I'm
Yeah.
glad you all had such a great time.
We really did.
Yeah,
We missed you, Ben.
yeah, I
We
know.
did.
Sure, sounds like it.
I'm
We
sorry.
were packed in those bleachers like sardines, Ben.
Oh, honey, you
Yes.
know I don't survive in those situations. It is
Mm-hmm.
fight or flight at that moment.
It does lit
I
up
would have been
though.
flying like a fucking Black Hawk, straight out them stands.
Okay, moving on to what overstimulated me was today, and I did this to myself.
Oh God.
So I had 14 miles till empty when I left the house this morning to go to work, okay?
Oh my
So
God.
I knew, okay, you really should stop on your way to work. But I didn't want to do that. So I didn't. And then I came home for lunch and I had to take Scott to the airport to pick up his rental car for work. And I forgot totally about that. So I was like, shoot, I don't really have time to get gas on my lunch either. So I get back to work with 7 miles till empty.
Oh my
I'm
God.
like, okay, I can do it. I can get home. I could get to a gas station after work. So I'm driving and I'm at 7, and then all of a sudden it drops to 3 miles till empty, and I'm still 4 miles to the nearest gas station.
Would have been my third reason right there.
So I'm like panicking. Then I'm like, well, duh, it's because I have my max AC button on.
Turn that hoe
So I
off.
turn my AC completely off. I turn my music off as if that has anything to do with gas. And I'm just like praying to God that I can get there. It was like it sat on 1 mile till empty for probably the last 3 miles of the drive.
No.
Oh my
But I
God.
made it. But that really overstimulated me because I literally just was picturing me in the middle of traffic with my yield lights on.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Or
So I have
4:35 o'clock.
definitely fucked around and found out on that one.
Yeah. Fair.
Hey, you didn't break down though.
True. Ben, what about you?
My overstimulation of the week was it I think it was Sunday? No, it was Saturday morning. So Friday night, let's rewind. I was a shitty friend and rain checked Haley and her mother.
That's not shitty.
Continuing, I'll eat what I can. But I rain checked, and then it turned into probably, well, I don't know that I want to admit that. Let's just say 5 p.m. 5 p.m. to about 2 in the morning
Mm-hmm.
drinking.
Yeah.
And there were 2 bottles empty of bourbon on the front patio the next morning.
A binge, if you will.
A binge. There were multiple people involved. This was not just me. I want to make that clear. So the next morning I get up and we have to go get my car because Billy drove it to the bar the next morning so he could get his truck and go work on yards and shit.
Classic
So,
Billy.
so he drives me over to my car because he traded him out. And I decide, what a fantastic idea, but to go and take care of something that I've been putting off for 2 weeks, which is helping a family friend with her internet problems.
Oh God, Ben.
First off, I knock on the door, still in their robes. It's 11:30 in the morning. Second off, it is just a bombardment
Mm,
of questions of we really need help, and it's just like
like you opened a can of worms.
the fucking headache that I already had.
Hmm.
And I don't know, that was my overstimulation for the week.
This is a perfect example of dealing with someone that you do not tolerate. You cannot tolerate.
Yeah, that's so true. Oh my God.
I'll agree with it. I will stand by that because I know they're not going to listen to this podcast. Genuinely, like this is one of those people who like I went to lunch with a few months ago, and he was like, "You should really like think about losing weight." And the same
Oh,
conversation
this is
was,
that person?
yeah, the same conversation was had
Mm.
while I was at their house that day too.
Oh my God.
And granted, it was out of concern for like my heart health and but I was just like, trust
Here's my
me,
thing. You
I
can
don't
say
need
all
to
that
hear
shit
this. I
as long
don't.
as when you die, you leave me money in your will.
There you go.
Period.
If you're gonna be hateful and awful to me, that's totally fine,
Mhm.
but you need to pay me for that.
The other thing is like self-awareness of like what you're saying.
Yes.
Like can we please have some like self-awareness?
Oh my God, yes.
I'm sorry, but like I am not at the Chinese restaurant up the street out with a friend bringing up like shit that they're insecure about
No.
out in the raw public.
I
Hell
also
no.
wouldn't bring that up like
To
if it was
begin with.
just me and you. Yeah.
Right.
Like, oh, but old people don't have filters. I have to remember that. I have a lot more years on top of them than they ever will. So I'll be here at 2030. We'll see if they are. Anyways, let's go ahead and end that with some trauma there. Um,
Yeah.
Okay,
Eve,
I want to update about my book.
oh yes, everyone needs to hear this. Go ahead and
Please
turn up
do.
the volume.
So I don't know if you remember, but Ben poked fun at me a few episodes back about when am I going to actually submit my book to agents?
We all need a little push, Eve.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked because starting yesterday evening, I, Monday, Memorial Day, I spent the day getting all of the materials ready that I needed, which, like, if you don't know anything about the process of publishing a book, basically neither do I, but
We're all
I've
learning together.
Yep.
I've learned, and I'm gonna tell you just quickly everything you need to submit a book to an agent, okay? You need a synopsis of your book. You need the entire full completed manuscript that's been edited as to the best of your ability. You need a list of comparable book titles, so books you think are similar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You need your author bio, which I'm not a fucking author, so that
Right.
shit was like my LinkedIn profile basically.
You
Oh,
are an
so
author
did.
though. I need you to flip the cards on that. But continue.
Okay, okay.
Mm-hmm.
You also need you need a one sentence pitch of the book, and then you need a query letter, which, it's kind of like when you apply for a job, like a cover letter.
Okay,
Okay.
gotcha.
And so you have to do all these things, and then you need to do research and find literary agents that are accepting submissions right now, and two, that are accepting submissions in the genre and have the interests of what you wrote. So they all have like basically wish lists that they've put together, and I had to skim through all these. I ended up finding 12 that I thought would fit really well,
Yeah.
and I have submitted to 6 of the 12. I still have 6 to submit to,
Period.
and I've already gotten one no, which felt really good and horrible at the same time.
Fair.
And yeah, so basically, if I get a literary agent, then I can move to the next step, which is my agent and I will look at my book. They will basically give me edits. I will apply those edits, and then we'll have another final version. And then that's the version that the agent will then pitch to publishers and hopefully a representative of a publishing house will pick it up. And then from there, that's when a professional editor comes in and you go through tons and tons of rounds of edits to get your final product. And then, then you do all the fun stuff of your cover and yada, yada, yada. And then you get a physical published book in stores. So there's a lot left in the process, but
Definitely.
I don't know. It felt very good just to say, I don't know. I like love my characters. They're like my friends and family to me.
Yeah.
Period.
And there's so many pieces of me in them. So I just am really excited that someone else is going to get the opportunity to look at it. Even if they look at it and hate it, I'm like, you know what? At least you read something that I wrote at
Yeah.
the very
Yeah.
least. You know what I mean? So
I
I'm trying
feel
to look at
like
it from that angle.
I feel like you've done a very good job of like putting a lot of depth in your characters and actually making them like real people instead of like I don't know. I feel like sometimes fantasy books, I don't want to say that the characters are like one-dimensional, but like almost like predictable, like the tropes of it all are like usually really predictable.
Right.
And so I feel like you've done a really good job of like humanizing them almost.
That's what I really wanted to do, and that's something I said in when doing this and in like my query letter is that my book is very character driven
Mm-hmm.
and the characters are very dynamic.
Well, and after hearing all this stuff about agents and stuff, I'm sure that like it sounds so niche. Like you have to find an agent that is
Yeah,
available and has the genre and has the like that's so
it's
niche.
definitely taste. Like they're gonna read it, and if they don't personally don't like it, that's all it is.
The
You know what I mean?
stars just have to align, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Can we know what your one sentence was?
Yeah, sure, I can read it to you.
Oh my god, yeah.
Okay. You ready?
Yes.
For some reason, when I read, I get out of breath, so no one make fun of me.
Okay.
Because I forget that you're supposed to like take breaks and like breathe.
That's okay.
Okay. The curse that binds us is a romantic fantasy where Amaryllis, a pawn in a kingdom ruled by a vengeful king, discovers her own powerful, uncontrollable magic and embarks on a desperate journey with her childhood love Prior to escape a kingdom ravaged by ancient curses, all while confronting the shadows of her past, learning to wield her magic, fight for freedom, and protecting the one she loves, including herself.
Damn.
Snaps.
Damn.
I'll
Uh,
send you guys the synopsis because I actually am like really proud of the synopsis.
I would
Can
love to read the synopsis.
can we just take a minute? I need everyone, whether you're driving your car, go ahead and pull on over.
Pull on over.
Or you're at your office or whatever, like go ahead and start clapping. I need
I'm ready to
claps, I
pop
need
the
cheers.
champagne
Yeah, like
already.
we are so proud of you. So
Thank
fucking
you.
proud.
I also have to mention I couldn't have done it without Haley. She's a really talented poet, and there are many, many of her poems
I
in.
didn't finish them. I'm a horrible friend. I didn't finish them.
Well, that's okay. I don't have to. The manuscript itself, it's fine if like that's not in there because technically that's not considered like they don't
Plot.
consider that, yeah, plot exactly. And so that would come later, but I did include a couple of them and I did mention you. So
Oh,
you would have a byline as well.
period.
I'm so proud of you. Oh,
I'm so proud of you.
well, thank you. It's about time somebody said it.
I live for that shit.
Me too. Okay, is it time?
I think it is.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah. I told Ben before we started this episode that this one's gonna be like a tough one for me.
Yeah. Do you want to kick it off?
I can kick it off.
Kick it off.
We thought that it would be a good idea to talk about narcissism.
Amen.
Snap, 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 snap.
I personally have my therapy journey kind of started on how to deal with narcissism, whether that's in familial relationships. Well, because I've dealt with it in familial relationships, I tend to gravitate towards it for romantic partners.
Mm.
So I've worked a lot on identifying that behavior and what it looks like and combating like I guess finding ways to deal with the behavior in a calm, rash way that isn't gonna like kill you mentally, basically.
Mhm.
So
Basically is the key word there.
I just that's yeah.
Can you give
I've
us
So
the
what? So
definition?
what is it? Yeah, what is a
Yeah.
narcissist?
Okay, I have it pulled up right here. There's obviously narcissists are like it's a personality disorder. So there's behaviors that are indicators of having narcissistic behavior. So like my therapist says to me all the time like, "Oh, I'm not going to call so and so in your life like a narcissist because they haven't been diagnosed and I'm not a diagnoser. So like I can't
Okay, yeah.
so she'll
Call
tell
me
me
a
like
diagnoser.
is that what word would you say? Is
A
that right?
clinician.
Somebody who diagnoses like a psychiatrist, I
Yeah,
guess.
psychiatrist.
Okay, yeah. She's like, I'm not a psychiatrist, so I'm not going to diagnose anybody as a narcissist. She's like, but I can help you identify the behaviors of like narcissism, basically. So I'm just going to go through really quickly and give the like 14 indicators that maybe
Yes.
are narcissistic behavior. Doesn't mean you are a narcissist, but these might be some of the traits that they have.
And don't worry, I low-key am.
I'm sure we all probably have traits of a little
I was
bit of
gonna say,
this.
so if we read this list and you start to think, holy shit, am I a narcissist?
Get in the boat.
Just know that
yeah.
you're that makes you not one, if that makes any sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
if you're reading this and thinking like, oh my God, that could be me, a narcissist would never say that.
True.
Okay, so number one, they have fantasies of greatness. So this might mean they daydream about being the most successful, powerful, or attractive person in the world.
Grandiosity.
Yes. Number two, belief that they are special and unique. So
Grandiosity.
yeah, like have an elitist attitude, like almost like
better than others.
yes.
Yeah.
I love
Number
those
three,
people.
they have a need for excessive admiration. They crave constant admiration and validation. Number four, the sense of entitlement. They often have an unreasonable expectation of favorable treatment and automatic compliance with their wishes. So they just assume that everybody's gonna like do what they want.
Great to meet y'all.
Controlling. Yeah.
Yeah. 5, interpersonally exploitive behavior. They often take advantage of others to achieve their own needs. That's a huge one,
Ooh,
I think.
manipulative. That
Yeah.
rides the line.
Yes, manipulation. That rings a huge bell.
6, lack of empathy.
Ooh.
Need I say more?
Oops.
Can I pause you right there for just a minute at 6?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think empathy, and I think we've touched on this a little bit, but like it is so underrated to have empathy to others.
Mm-hmm.
And like not enough society is empathetic. I think there's a line.
Yeah, definitely.
But I also think that a lot of people like live in this category of entitlement and arrogance, and grandiosity, where they don't like recognize like empathy is needed in the world.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue. That was my spiel.
No, be on your soapbox. Okay, where
Number
7.
7.
Envy of others or belief that others are envious of them. So,
Ooh,
like other people's success of possessions, they think that they might deserve those things more than you do.
I think we see that in relationships sometimes too. Like people that have left a relationship or people that have been broken up with, like I think that can stem from, or it leads to like stalking and shit like that. Like all right, sorry. Number 8.
Arrogant behaviors or attitudes kind of goes hand in hand.
9,
Difficulty handling criticism.
Mm-hmm.
because they usually have fragile self-esteem.
Shoo,
Yes.
call them out.
10.
Which is the fragile self-esteem is one of those things at the very core of it all,
Yeah,
that all these other things are like the armor they put up.
correct.
So,
10. Superficial relationships. They often form shallow relationships based on what others can do for them.
Transactional friendships.
I've experienced this a lot.
transactional relationships in general, I would like to correct you, Ben.
It's just like, no, there's nothing depth or like substance wise. 11. Lack of accountability. They rarely take responsibility for their actions.
Mm-hmm.
12. Manipulative behavior. They often use tactics such as gaslighting, guilt tripping, and playing the victim to control others.
Manipulation.
Yep. 13. Obsessed with status and appearance.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And then 14. Inability to maintain healthy relationships.
Yes.
Put that on the no substance relationship.
So those are just the high points. Obviously, there's a
Right.
lot of nuanced behaviors in between, but
I think one that I really want to touch on is like arrogance. I think it leads to ignorance as well. You get really arrogant, you really get really like egotistical. And like you've said, like fragile self-esteem is kind of like a foundational like red flag. I think that also leads to arrogance of like I am better than so and so, or I'm better than this situation.
yeah,
Instead of being an adult and growing the hell up and picking your balls up off the floor and actually approaching something.
right.
I think a lot of people have problems with that. I think that's also where being a narcissist versus just having like everyday narcissism also comes into play of like you can have your spells. Like there are certain situations where you have to put on a mask, even if
Yeah.
you're the nicest person in the world. But you combine 5, 6, 7 of those together. I'm sorry, call me a clinician, but you're likely a narcissist. And disclaimer, I'm not a clinician, nor am I claiming any type of medical background. But
Right.
that's kind of my stance on it. Haley, I'll let you kind of take it away with some real world touch points here.
Well, the biggest thing that I've found with narcissists and narcissistic behavior is like, because I've dealt so much with it's kind of developed a thing in me to where I can't trust my own opinions. Like it causes me to second guess my own intuition maybe, because and my therapist and I have talked a lot about this. It causes me not to trust myself because a lot of the narcissists in my life have used things that I've said or my emotions or like against me in a really strategic way.
Yeah.
So then it makes me not trust my own opinions or what I'm thinking. And that's been probably the most harmful thing that I've gotten out of dealing with narcissists.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Ben. I just wanted to touch on what I think I've gotten out
Mhm.
of dealing with them, because I think you can almost go two different ways, and I think Haley and I are kind of like a perfect example of the two different sides of the coin.
Yeah.
And I think one of those ways is what Haley was just, that what she was just talking about is an aspect of that. And then I think I'm on the other side of that where, because I am so familiar with someone who was obviously very important in my life and has been in my life since I was born, and was raised by that, I almost started to emulate those behaviors. And as especially I would say probably when I turned like 21, 22, really started to notice those toxic traits in myself, and it really scared me.
Yeah.
And I still deal with that now, of where because I was raised by that, I thought that was how you'd handled your relationships with people.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I hear that list of things, it kind of almost triggers me to think, oh my God, I'm a narcissist. But that's just me, who's someone who's not fully worked through it.
Right.
I picked up a lot of those things. And so a lot of my failed friendships, romantic relationships with family, even I would say, unfortunately, it's because I thought that that was how you treated someone and that was how you got love and attention and affection.
Mm.
And so I was that way. And even now, it's kind of a joke, but at the same time, it's not, because I may have this smaller group of people around me who I'm actually really close with, but they're people that I really trust so far to tell me, hey, your behavior is not okay.
Yeah.
Or what you're saying or what you're doing right now is not cool. And I
Right.
think that's really important because, and like I said, the fact that if you're even thinking to yourself, oh my God, I might be a narcissist, you're already doing better than a narcissist ever would.
Yeah.
So I
And
just wanted to bring that perspective.
I
I
would
like,
I kind of want to build off of that, Eve. Like, it's almost like people who have addictions and, other like bad vices or traits in their lives, like admitting to something.
mm-hmm.
I could also equate this type of scenario and someone being a narcissist to that.
Hmm.
But in my personal opinion, not my clinician opinion, um, when it comes to people being a narcissist, they are willing to go above and beyond and destroy everything in their life for their own being and for their own
Yep.
good.
Yep.
And something that will set you apart, something that sets Eve apart, me apart, Haley apart from like some of these traits, like, yes, like I have a need for admiration and I do have like a sense of entitlement at times.
Mm-hmm.
But the at times is the key word in there because I also have people that ground me. I also have people that
Yeah.
humble me,
When you
such
have
as
people that you care about and would sacrifice
any of those feelings
anything
or
Right.
any of those like
for.
behaviors.
Right,
I would
exactly.
sacrifice like my behaviors for friendship.
Like you're aware of the give and take.
Yes.
Yes.
Like,
And Haley, I love you, but I hate the give and take attitude. Not attitude, but the wording.
right.
And that's not to shoot you down, but it's just in a sense of like I don't ever want like there's obviously a balance,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't want there to ever be an equation.
I get what you're
No.
saying, but yeah.
Um, and I will say for the people in this podcast, like me, Haley, and Eve, there isn't an equation. There's a balance, and
No,
that's why
right.
our friendship works so well. Um,
I mean, sometimes some of us are at 100, sometimes some of us are at 25,
yeah, I
and the
mean,
other person's at, 110. And
every other
Yes.
week you all don't hear from me. Like,
Well, that applies to relationships too. That's something Scott and I talk about a lot because some people will tell you a relationship is 50-50. Some will say it's
yeah,
100-100. Some will say whatever. But I tell Scott all the time, first of all, a relationship's always going to be work. So if it ever feels easy, we're doing it wrong. And
mm-hmm,
also, it's okay if you have weeks, months, a year even, where you can only give 10% because you have some things you're dealing with or whatever, but
yeah,
and I have to give 90, like I think as a partner, that is what I'm signing up to do and
yeah,
I
mm-hmm,
want to do, and vice versa. Sometimes it will be 50-50, sometimes it will be 100-100. I just think it's not like Ben saying there's not one right answer there.
right.
and Haley, you kind of made this point the other night. I'm gonna pass the baton off to you
I
about
did.
what we talked about. Why don't you give a little
Yeah.
insight there?
I brought this up to Ben the other night. This is kind of not really related to narcissism at all,
No,
more just
but
like relationships. But I told Ben the other night, I was like, I hate when I go online and I see people say, like, oh, like my better half, or like my significant other is like my better half. And I'm like, in my head, I'm kind of like, well, fuck that. Like, I'm whole on my own.
Yep.
Like, they're not half of me. Like, they're adding something to my life that, like, I admire, like, it's not half, like Eve said at that point,
Well, and
It's like,
let's be so real. And Eve, you can kind of speak to this, or you can speak to this more than me and Haley, but Haley, you can also speak to this. Um, at the end of the day, when you roll over in your bed and your partner's asleep, guess who you have to go to bed with, and the decisions of someone you have to go to bed with? Yourself.
yourself.
Like, you
Yeah.
have to sit there and stew, whether it's happiness, anxiety, sadness, adversity, shit like that. Like, you can share all you want, but at the end of the day, you have to be able to go to bed with yourself. And
Yep.
I kind of want to loop that back to narcissism. Like, people that are narcissists, they can go to bed with themselves with this type of shit.
Oh, 100%.
Where, like, it's just an everyday, like, illusion, an everyday motion for them to be obsessed with themselves and be obsessed with their own, like, being and success and never
Well,
celebrate anything else.
and it's really cyclical if you think about it, because they prey off of like people that have really low self-esteem or self-worth.
Yep.
And so obviously their behaviors of acting, better than, or like they deserve more, is just going to keep you feeling
Like shit.
like shit, and keep enabling you to have that low self-esteem and low self-worth, because that's what they want.
I really quick want to go back to what you guys were talking about that is kind of unrelated. Just super quick to share my thoughts on that.
Please.
Um, I actually do come at this from a religious perspective. Nobody click off. But I really truly do believe that you and your partner become one, and specifically in the Lord's eyes, but to carry that down into my eyes. So I do agree that, at the end of the day, the person who knows you best is yourself, and a strong relationship with yourself is so important. But also, in my head, and what I hope Scott feels in his head, is that any of his struggles, anything he's anxious about, anything he's dealing with, even his like deepest, darkest secrets and thoughts, those are mine too. And I want to take that weight on as well, so that in those moments when he does only have 10% to give, maybe I can take a little bit of that off of him and give him 20%, if that makes
Or
sense.
he could sleep better at night.
Right, yes. Like I've got this. I'll take this worry from you. Get it off your mind. Don't worry about it anymore. Focus on something else. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I just wanted to quickly bring my thoughts to that, but
And
uh,
narcissists wouldn't do that.
No.
no, they wouldn't. They wouldn't at all. But I think what
And
Haley's saying is so important. What you're saying, they seek out the really empathetic people
Yeah.
who maybe they do come from trauma backgrounds. They do have low self-esteem. Um, they have a lot to give. Maybe they're just naturally really giving people, and they latch onto those people and take everything they can from them and then keep them perpetually in that situation. And another thing that they do, and I've learned this, is they give you just enough. So when things are getting really bad, you'll notice, and maybe you're starting to pull away because you're starting to see some of these signs and your eyes are starting to open. And then they'll flip that switch and they'll be back to the really charming,
Yeah.
wonderful, life is amazing. They're giving you so much affection. They're treating you so well. And once you're back hooked in, it's gone again. It's like a
Charm,
drug.
charm and charisma is like, I
oh,
feel like something they all have.
where's
Like,
my bottle of bourbon? Where, Eve? You got tears coming down my face.
Like it's like really eerie how
It is. They are the most charismatic people in your life, I guarantee it.
no, 1,000% they are. Yeah.
Or those people who walk into a room and you're like, wow, they just command the room.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to be friends with everyone.
Yep.
But those friendships, they're shallow.
Yeah.
That
Oh yeah.
charisma, it's fake. You know what I mean? Like they've got you fooled.
Well, it's like what Ben said earlier about the mask.
Yes, they are masters at deception, and
At
that
that
is their
point,
biggest deception.
here's where I equate it to, and I hate to be this way because that's part of my job in the real world, but I equate it to people who have masks for situations, and then there are people who have had permanent face surgery, um, like
People that have had
permanent,
facelifts.
yeah, like permanent plastic surgery on their face. Like there's a narcissist, they've
Like
had
Chris
permanent
Jenner.
plastic surgery, period. And then there are people who every day they go through narcissistic motions to make it through. And don't get me wrong, like I have definitely made decisions or sent emails or talked to people and like I've had that like almost like narcissistic face on me. I don't ever want to be that person, but Papa's got to pay his bills.
Right.
I
Um,
think that's different though, Ben. I think
yeah,
It is.
you
and
putting on your work pants and your work hat
but what's hard with
is
that, Eve, is everything you mentioned about the people that they prey on. That's me.
no, yeah.
That's why I was like, "Where's
And
my bottle
Haley.
of bourbon?" Like,
Yeah.
I love you
Yes.
all, and I love everything that you said, but I'm I'm easily a victim in those situations. I'm not a constant
Mm-hmm.
victim. I want to make that very clear. I'm not a constant victim,
Right.
but I'm an easy target for these people.
Well, and this is exactly why we joke about how it's not very easy for me when I meet someone new to be super friendly and open-armed because I always come at it from the perspective of I need to read you out before I let you in to these really amazing people
Yeah.
who I know are so giving and empathetic. And it's almost like I'm like this I feel like I have to be this guard dog
Mm-hmm.
for you guys.
Yeah.
And, I'm letting some of that go because that's obviously not my responsibility, but
No, not by any
I
means.
I do feel like I have a really good read on people almost because I kind of it's like almost like where I went undercover for years and lived as a narcissist. And so now I know
Undercover
how to sniff
boss.
one out. Yes, like I'm the undercover boss and the company is narcissisms.
Yeah.
Narcissists. Narcissists. So I just feel like I know how to read them and how to find them. And my alarms go off quickly
Mm.
and I can overstep at times because I'm just like, guys, what are we doing? Like this, get this person out of here.
Yeah.
That's something that I won't say has freaked me out, but I've definitely had more open eyes to it of just like, well, she was right. Um,
Yeah.
like, and not to say that I don't want to give you like the satisfaction of that, but almost in a sense of like, God bless America. I wish she wasn't right.
But here's the thing, I don't
You
feel
Right.
know?
satisfaction though. Like
No, no.
I don't want to feel satisfaction about it. I don't want to be
Yeah.
right. I hope that if I meet someone and I don't like their energy or I think this is not a good person and that doesn't have good intentions, I hope that they prove me wrong. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's
I
happened before.
It has, but it's not very often, Eve.
Right.
To all y'all out there, I'm admitting it right here, right now.
Basically, I'm a witch.
Yeah.
From Halloween
You
itself.
you need to start one of those like Etsy businesses where people like pay you like $10 to like cast a
Yes.
spell on
Send me a
somebody.
text, DM me a photo and give me like a short bio of the person and I'll
Yeah.
let you know. I'll give you like a percentage that they're a narcissist.
Yeah.
What's that called?
Honestly.
Like cameo? You can do a cameo.
You could do a cameo.
I'm getting too old for all these kids out here.
I want to talk about kind of segueing to talking about how you guys, we've kind of touched a little bit on this, But what do you do? Your eyes are open. There's a narcissist in your life. You know it. You see it. You're
Mm.
certain of it. What do you do? Do you cut them out? What do you do?
You got to be careful with your response to it.
You do have to be careful. I think it depends on, like, if it's like a family thing that, like,
That's
maybe
totally different. Yeah.
you can't, like, if it's like a friendship or a romantic relationship, it's like, I feel like a moose. Oh my God. He's sniffing me like the shrimp in Nemo. Oh my God. That was overstimulating me. That's my overstimulating thing of the week. Go away, lay down.
Everybody loves to hear Moose's sniffs.
Come here. Sniff.
That's me after I've walked up a few steps.
Man, I can hear your sniffs.
Oh no, but I feel like if it's a family thing, that takes a whole different approach than like a romantic partner versus like a friendship.
I want you to elaborate on that because I have some opinions here on that, on the family aspect.
For me, the familial relationships that I have with narcissists, I feel like it's something I've had to grieve. Like, I know that they're never going to be healed from that. So it's like, I almost have to look at it as this loss of like, okay, well, I'll never really have a deep relationship with them. Or, everything's always going to be pretty surface level. And I'm always going to have to like have a little bit of a boundary up as far as like what I share with them and what I let them know about myself. So that's just something I've kind of had to grieve personally.
Does Moose need to go potty?
I think he might.
We
Give
can
me-
pause.
Give me 1 second.
So, to kind of wrap the talk specifically about narcissist and narcissism, I think I just want to share a few things that I have been trying to do in practice to protect myself from a narcissist. And these are almost like cheat codes where if this person or these people that you've identified, if they're not people you can just write off. Okay.
Mhm.
So, boundaries. And Haley mentioned this briefly,
Yeah.
but it's so, so important to set boundaries and to not only set them, but know you have to stand by them. And
Yeah.
also,
Enforce
they
them.
can be fluid.
They can be fluid.
It is a privilege to be a part of my life. And how much I let you in is a privilege. And that
Yeah.
can be taken away, that can be decreased, that can be increased. You almost have to treat them like a toddler in this situation.
I would agree with that.
Um,
Just
yeah,
like
go.
very basic level. Like, I'm gonna not share X, Y, and Z with you, about my week because I don't want to, like,
Yes.
it's
A specific example for me was money. Money became a problem
mm,
for in a specific relationship that I had with someone. And so I had to set a very specific boundary. And I stated that boundary very clearly.
yeah,
I no longer will be discussing my financial situation, your financial situation, or finances in general.
yeah,
It's
Well,
clear, there's no confusion that can be had.
well, and I think it's important, like you said, the boundaries, they can be fluid, but it's also important to recognize when the boundaries are way overstepping. Like,
yeah,
like people, even like personally and in my job, like people having too much of a leash, where it's like I've given you too much and I've given you too much balloon,
yeah,
and now we're approaching like an area of where everything could explode all at once.
Well, this is just your reminder that you don't have to be, all of you doesn't have to be available to everyone at every
Yes,
in
exactly.
the day. Like,
And that goes beyond for narcissists. That goes
yeah,
for narcissists. Okay, I have three more. The next one is there's no fixing them, so don't try.
yep,
True.
correct.
They're not going to change unless they themselves
Sorry.
take the initiative and get help.
A lot of times they don't.
Your energy should be spent protecting yourself, not trying to heal them.
Yup.
Okay. Moving on, or do you guys have anything to say about that?
No.
There's nothing more to say about that, honestly.
Okay. This next one is one I actually saw on Instagram Reels
I'm so dead.
in like a meme, but then I looked it up and was like, that's actually so smart. It's called the gray rock method. Have you
Okay.
guys heard of it?
I don't think so.
Okay, it's basically where you become uninteresting and neutral to avoid giving a narcissist any sort of emotional fuel. So basically, you respond to them with no emotion. You keep your answers short, factual, and you until like if you this is for like if you're in a group of people, you have to be around someone who you know is a narcissist and they're having an episode or they're being how they are and it's really toxic for you. You
Yeah.
go into the gray rock method, okay? And you become the color gray. You're a rock. You have no
Say okay
emotion.
to everything.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Cool. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I do
I
that
feel
a
like,
lot with like emotionally draining people.
yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like I've unintentionally kind of done that with like narcissists in my life,
I was gonna say
honestly.
that's what you do when you shut down, I feel like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
A lot of the
100%.
times. And that's probably where that comes from.
Yep.
You
Like a
like even
trigger,
in
like a mechanism.
healthy, yeah, even in healthy conflict, I feel like you do that because as a child, that's what you did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You had to do that to protect yourself.
Well, and flipping that, that's kind of eye-opening because like flipping that fight or flight reaction to your benefit to like help you, not just going to it out of instinct, but
Hmm.
choosing that behavior because it could save you, headache with
Yes.
narcissisms down the road. Like that's a whole new way to look at it.
I
Yes.
think fight or flight can be very fluid as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like flight in my mind is the shutdown.
Hmm.
Fight is
Well,
the I'm gonna stand on my enforcement, I'm gonna stand on my morals, I like I'm gonna stand in this even if it means that I'm gonna about to get rained on by like a pile of pelicans that just ate fucking Miralax. Like that's fight in my mind.
well, it's funny because my therapist and I have talked about there's not only just fight or flight, there's like four different responses, like trauma responses.
Oh,
You can have fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And so fight obviously is like direct confrontation, like aggressive,
Hmm.
assertiveness.
Standing on
Flight,
business.
do what?
Standing on business.
Yeah, correct. Flight is more like you want to avoid, you want to like distance yourself from the physical or emotional like stressor.
yep.
Freeze is like you're immobile all of a sudden, or you have a sense of like paralysis, or you're unable to move or act against the threat. And then fawn is like you attempt to like peacemake or like pacify the threat to like avoid harm, like people
Mhm.
pleasing behaviors almost, or like a sense of like submission.
Yes.
So I
That
was thought,
perfectly goes into my next one.
okay, yeah, go.
The last one that I've been like trying to implement, but it's really hard for me because I do think I'm a people pleaser. Maybe you don't think
Mm,
that, maybe you wouldn't think that about me, but I am.
yeah.
And that is to avoid taking it personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough
And
one.
it's so hard to tell myself when I just want everyone to like me, I want everyone to want to be around me, to tell myself that their behavior is about their own insecurities
Yep.
and it's not my worth. It's not because I'm a boring person, I'm a bad person, or no one likes me, or no one wants to be around me.
No,
It has nothing to do with me. So,
nothing
That
at all.
that almost speaks to like the phrase of like you never know what other people are going through. And
mm,
it can also be kind of manipulative, that wording, but like I've met some people where my first impression was so shitty, and it's like they had a really rough day. Like
Yeah,
they had a really rough time today, and the next time I meet them, it's a totally different person from then on.
right.
Where it's like they're comfortable with me and like they can, I don't know, there's a comfort level too where it's just like you feel comfortable bitching to people or you feel comfortable like just venting or trauma dumping.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like your first impressions or people you first meet, like you never know how their day went, you never know what they're going through in life, like if they're losing a family member or like shit like that. Like I think that speaks into that point that you
Yeah.
just made.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, don't let narcissists make excuses. We've all called into work for a family member that's died, and nobody actually died. So
I always pick one that's already dead.
exactly,
That's
Smart.
so awful.
what's a
I
second
don't
guess?
do that anymore. I don't do that anymore.
Well, you're better than never mind. If you're listening to this, you work for my company. No, you aren't.
Yeah, I'm keeping my mouth shut.
Um, Eve, are we ready to move into our final topic of this pod?
Yeah, that works for me. Unless Haley, do you have anything else? I feel like I kind of cut you off on accident.
No, it's okay.
All right, our final
Sorry, my narcissism was showing.
that response, Haley. All right, so our final topic of the episode, and I kind of want to kick it off here is rejection. Um, rejection all around, even rejection of your own self.
Mhm.
I think we all deal with
Ooh,
self-image
yeah.
issues, and I don't know that we're going to get into that, but I really want to talk about rejection from others, rejection from publishers, rejection from agents. Let me get my gun out and point it right at Eve. Um, but yeah, I think rejection can be very healthy. I am at a point in my life where I appreciate criticism and I appreciate like rejection in general. That's, you know, what's the word? Not critical, but constructive. I appreciate constructive rejection. There's the right phrasing there. Um, if somebody's going to reject me, and I tell this to my mentees, I tell this to people that I work with, people that I talk with, you all, like, even in my responses to things that are going on, like, take the glass half full.
Mhm.
Like, I told Eve today, like, in our text, I was like, even if they reject you, these folks, Lofloks, um, could give you some insight into the industry, or they could
Mm-hmm.
tell you why they're saying no,
Yeah.
which
Mm-hmm.
can only help you advance yourself.
Sorry, guys.
And that's what I look for in rejection is, and even if I don't get it on the first go round, you can bet your bottom dollar my ass is already keyboard warrioring myself into an email that says why.
Ben is a keyboard warrior, truly.
Oh,
I
you know
want to
what?
say my personal struggles with rejection is it all sounds great on paper, but what I get tripped up by and what really scares me is anytime I get a rejection, I immediately take it as a personal attack on
Yeah.
my character or who I am as a person. And that can even be as simple as obviously working in marketing. I do, some design work and even getting feedback on a design I do. I immediately take it as you're not good at your job, you're not talented, you have no skills, you're a failure. I just like, I think
Yeah. You always go to the most
because,
extreme.
yes, because I am such a people pleaser and I have such high expectations on myself that
Mm.
when I fail and when I'm rejected, I take it very personally, which is the hard part for me. Because in theory, like you're saying, Ben, like I know that from rejection comes growth, and that's wonderful. I invite that,
Yeah.
but I just can't get myself to disconnect that I'm still a good person. I still have worth, even if I get a rejection.
I
Definitely.
I want to challenge you both, and I want to challenge everyone that's listening right now. The next time you look at yourself, or the next time you're in a situation where you are setting expectations against yourself, flip that mindset to I'm setting goals for myself.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
Stop putting expectations on yourself. And I think that plays into like self-image,
yeah.
insecurities, the whole nine. Like, stop
Yeah.
putting expectations out there. And this is so much easier said than done, but it has
Right.
really helped me personally. And I think it could help a lot of
That's
people.
good advice. That's
Set
really good.
goals, not expectations. Because expectations, you're comparing yourself at the end of the day. Whether you want to
Right.
admit it or not, you're comparing yourself to James Patterson, to Lady Gaga, to whoever, to influencers out there on TikTok. Like, you're comparing yourself when you set expectations. Set
Mm-hmm.
goals. Because it's
I think
okay if you
that's
don't
good
hit your goals.
advice.
Right.
Because you can move your goals. Expectations are almost set in stone to an extent.
Yeah, I would
Of
agree
like,
with that.
wow, I really didn't hit this milestone, or wow, I really didn't hit this expectation. Whereas goals can
Mm-hmm.
be, well, I didn't hit it right now, but let's move it a month. Let's move it 2 months. Let's
Yeah.
move it to
Mm-hmm.
the 100th person, as you said today in our text, Steve. Like, let's move it to the 100th
Mm-hmm. Yes. I
agent.
only have 99 more no's.
Yeah.
like,
Woo!
like it is, and it's so much easier said than done. But like, it's something to work on. Like, flip your mindset to like, this is a goal,
Yeah.
Yes.
and it'll almost make you more excited
I
because
was gonna
it's
say
not
I did
something that.
find myself today after getting one no and barely starting to submit queries, immediately researching what did I do wrong? Why did I get a no? Do I need to rewrite my book?
Right.
Like rechecking when I sent, was there a typo? Did I send it to the wrong person? Just like immediately thinking like, okay, I did something wrong. I messed up. Like I'm a failure of this book. It sucks. No one's gonna like, just I immediately went to that place. And I was telling Scott that when I got home from work, and he was like, whoa, you just got one no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know, I know that, but I just can't help. But I want to be the best. I want to be the person who submits their book, and all 12 people they submitted to love it and want it and want to represent me and my book. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Like I want that. Those are just absolutely insane expectations I put on myself.
definitely.
And
Because
that can be a goal.
Yes.
realistically, it only takes one yes for you to change your life.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, in a perfect world, you would get all these yeses, but then at the same time, it's like, okay, well, then you're trying to please 12 people versus the one that actually wants you for real, you know?
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
And so
4 quarters
I
instead of 100 pennies.
that's what they say.
Sorry.
Haley, I want to hear your thoughts though, like about
Yeah.
rejection in general or specifics or whatever.
I feel like my corporate job has really kind of turned what I think about rejection on its head. I feel like I used to fall victim to what you do a lot, Eve, is like, especially in the design world, you really personalize any kind of critique you get back.
Your worth is in your work.
Yeah, which is so not true.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to get over that really quickly because I mean, I'm constantly at work getting critiques or revisions or about stuff I design.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like you just have to realize you kind of have to look at it from like a bird's eye view and like take yourself out of it completely. You it helps too that I don't work on anything at work that like is super creative in that way. Like I still design obviously, but it's not like passionate design that I've poured a lot of my own spin on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think you have to look at it as almost like you're just a vessel of like following whatever rules have already been set, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like
So how do you balance confident? How do you remain confident in yourself and your work or just yourself, whatever, but while also taking rejection and taking a lot of it?
mm,
You know what I mean?
I use it as like an opportunity to grow every time. Like if something I do gets rejected or I'm getting a lot of critique about a project, I'll be like, well, now I know what not to do next time. And so I'll kind of make a mental note and be like, okay, remember like what happened last time. Like, don't do it that way again because that was ineffective, obviously, and client didn't like XYZ or whatever. So I feel like at work, it's a little different because it's kind of just about playing the game. You have to learn, you know,
Mm-hmm.
learn who likes what and who doesn't like what.
Yeah.
But
Well, what
I
about
just
personally then?
personally, oh gosh, um, personal rejection. I don't know. I think it comes with age. Like it's kind of what we've talked about the last few times, just about how like the older we get, the less of a fuck we kind of give about what other people think. So it's kind of like the same scenario as work a little bit, where it's just like, okay, I try to use it as an opportunity for growth and how I can improve. But I think personally it's a lot harder because I feel like I get rejected at work a lot more than I get rejected in my personal life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna build off of that. I take rejection at work as a place to grow,
Mm-hmm.
whereas personally, I'm not gonna change myself for one person.
Mm.
Never. And I say that rooted in
Yeah,
my
I think
growth.
that's what I struggle with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That balance of
And we all do. I can sit here and fucking sing a song about
Right.
how like,
please
give
do.
me well, spent my dollar. Anyways,
Yeah.
um
That's about
I
compartmentalizing it though, if that
yes,
makes sense.
but I think it's also a sense of recognizing when there are flaws in our mindsets or like Eve, you spoke on this and it was so resonating even to the subject of like walking into conversations with a mind that's willing to be changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can even resonate to this point of rejection of, okay, I'm taking what you're saying, but and not but I'm gonna take what you say and I'm gonna pick it apart. Second piece of that is, but I'm not gonna change my entire identity or how I approach things based on one encounter. It's different if
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5 people come to me and say, wow, that was horrible, or wow, like what the fuck were you thinking?
Yeah.
Versus one person coming and saying, I don't like you, or I don't like the situation, or how you approached it. Well, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, but that's who I am. And I would rather be real with people than sit there and put a mask on like I'm at work, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Well, and maybe this is on me too. Like I just said a second ago that I feel like I don't get rejected a lot personally in my personal life. That could be a testament too of maybe I'm not putting myself out there enough
I was just about to say that.
or giving myself enough opportunity to be in a place of rejection in my personal life.
I'm not kidding, I was just about to say that because on my drive home from work, I was thinking and obviously about my rejection today.
Yeah.
And I was like, I thought to myself, I said, if one of my friends did this, I would be looking at them thinking, oh my God, they're so brave. And
Mm-hmm.
I know I would say, I would never do that
1,000%.
because I love to be comfortable. I'm not afraid to admit that.
Yeah.
I love being comfortable. I don't like being uncomfortable. I don't like putting myself out there.
Yup.
There's a reason I have like literally three friends, like, and one of them is my fiance. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't
Right.
Yeah.
want to be uncomfortable. I know what I like. I know what I don't. And I think a lot of this whole book process was subconsciously me saying, this is a way you can put yourself out there in a safe way where you personally aren't going to feel attacked, but I almost have like my characters are they've got so many qualities of me in them. So
Mm,
that is where I think a lot of the personal comes from,
The
but they
battle.
aren't me. They're almost like little shields.
that
Yeah.
makes sense.
So it's almost like me kind of like taking like a small step forward, and putting my book out there instead of putting myself out there and kind of
Yep.
like, let's get through this and let me work through these rejections. And then that'll show me the world's still turning and I can really do anything.
I think
I
that's
think
really
there's also
powerful.
a difference in your writing style versus you personally. Like when we talk about, or I'm not a reader. Disclaimer, not a reader. Um, I
Disclaimer.
we see a lot of authors, we see a lot of directors and directors isn't the right word for that because they also get criticism personally. But writers, for example, like their work is criticized, not them.
Yeah,
At
but
least in my opinion.
I think when it comes to like a creative field like that, it's really easy to blur the line of like a
What's
personal,
yes.
because they're so passionate about their work. And it's,
Yes.
and like Eve said, like she put a lot of herself and her characteristics into this book. So it's like that line is blurred almost of like, okay, what part is me and what part is fiction?
Yes. Well, and let me read this one sentence about the book, and you're gonna say that's you, that you wrote that about yourself.
Right.
At its heart, The Curse That Binds Us is a story about survival, found family, and the journey to reclaim one's identity in a world that never wanted you whole.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that really, to me, when I was writing the synopsis of the book, I was like cackling to myself
Right.
because I was like, I really said, I'm not going to therapy. I'm just going to write a book.
Literally. It's like that TikTok trend right now where it's like, probably needed a hug instead, like
Drinking
wrote a
myself
book.
to sleep, you know.
Yeah.
No, yes. And also, like, I wrote you guys, like the
Oh yeah.
relationship between Dixie and Amaryllis, these two best friends, like a lot of those traits of that relationship come from my friendships with Haley and my friendship with Haley, my friendship with Ben.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the romance in the novel, like there's first the whole, this whole majority of this book, you think that this one guy's who she'll end up with, and he seems so great on paper, but every once in a while there's these red flags that poke up, and you're like, well, maybe not, but she seems so certain. And then out of the blue, at the end of it, another person kind of shows up, and this person you meet, and you're just like, yeah, this is who she's been missing, and that kind of comes from my own personal relationship with Scott. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm excited.
I know I can't wait for you guys to maybe one day I'll give you an autographed copy.
Oh, honey, we're putting the link in there. And
Selling
then
it on
in 30
eBay,
years,
make
when your
millions.
signature, when your signature is
I've decided if nobody wants to represent me, I'll just self-publish
Self-publish.
yeah.
and put it on Kindle.
I
I
know
think
people that have done that.
I'll give you a credit card to go do it with.
I know people that have done that with like poetry books.
Yeah. I have not really looked into it yet because I don't want to like I
Yeah,
don't
you
want
want
I
to
want to
exhaust all your options first.
yes.
Take your stab at the world first. Yeah.
But I'm like, I want this book. I definitely want to get physical copies of this book made at the very least, even if it's just for my friends and family,
I would love one.
because I just want to look on the shelf and see my book.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So,
There's nothing more gratifying than like physically holding
Oh,
something
because
you've
if
done.
everybody rejects you, guess who will never reject you? Yourself.
Well, actually, can I end with this quote
Yes.
that
Haley.
is from a SZA song that I love?
Yes, and then I want us to wrap the episode talking about what's going to be the next episode, which is going to be so fun.
Okay. So this is a song from her SOS album. It's called Far. The song starts with like this talking intro of like, she's like, how do I deal with rejection? I'm dealing with a lot of rejection right now. And the response basically is like, oh, that's great. If nobody wants you, then you're free.
Mm,
Mic drop.
I love that. I really love that.
You're free from the
You're
shackles.
free. If nobody wants
No
you, you're free.
expectations.
Yep.
Just goals.
That's like
Okay.
Vince looking at it, cup is half full.
100%.
We have some guests coming on in our next episode. for a little segment.
I'm gonna introduce Morgan because she is a friend that we met in college. She is like literally one of the smartest people I've ever met. She's so
100%.
level-headed, and she is like such a protector, and she's fiercely loyal to all of us, and she's proven that time and time again. And she's just the best. She loves to have a good freaking time. She's a party.
Bruco.
Yes.
But she just graduated law school, and she's literally badass. So Morgan will be on next episode.
And yeah, happy Lake Weekend on our next episode. Ladies,
Yeah.
give us a little
Yes.
round out here.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much for listening yet again. This was a long one. This was a doozy. So if you're still
If you're still here,
we love you. We appreciate you.
This one you might need to come back to every few months.
Yeah, take a little snack
few days,
break.
not months, few days, few hours. We
Come
need the
back.
listen hours. I need y'all to pick it up here.
Yeah.
Papa's
So
got to pay his bills. But anyways,
thank you
Haley.
guys. Y'all are the best.
love y'all.
See y'all next week.
Bye.